I made a big mistake. I did a comparison between images produced by the Olympus E-500 and Canon G12. The idea behind the comparison was mainly about the color they produce. The images from the Olympus E-500 in that failed comparison looked a bit weird, kind of greenish, so I started doubting myself. Was this really the Kodak CCD sensor that so many people love? No way people love that kind of color. Well, maybe some people do. So I double checked the JPEG info, and yeah, I made a big mistake. The white balance wasn't auto. It turned out the setting was manual. Somehow I accidentally set the white balance to something other than auto. So in this video, I made it right. I redid the whole comparison with a few changes here. If you are not familiar with this camera, this is the Olympus E-500. The Olympus E-500 along with E-300 and E-400 is equipped with a Kodak made CCD sensor, which many people say produces film-like images. And well, you could disagree. And this is the Canon G12. It also has a CCD sensor. I don't have info about who made this sensor, so let's just assume it's a Canon made CCD sensor. Disclaimer, this is a fun comparison, so whatever the result, it might need more experimenting, which I'll do, so keep an eye on this channel. What I did was shoot with both cameras in real world conditions, no control lighting, just to see how they perform in everyday situation. The main thing I focused on was the kind of colors these cameras produce. For this test, I shot both cameras exclusively at ISO 200. For the Canon G12, I shot at f4 and f4.5, since some people say these are the sweet spots of the G12. The Canon G12 has a built-in lens, so no swapping lenses here. On the Olympus E-500, I used a Rikenon 50mm f2 lens, which is equivalent to 100mm because of the 2 times crop factor of the 4/3 sensor. I mostly shot at f5.6 and f8, but also did a bit of at f4. I set both cameras to auto white balance with no tweaking. I think this was the most important factor because when it comes to colors, we want to see how both cameras handle white balance. I tried to shot in various conditions, some in the late afternoon after rain, some in the morning sun, and some in low light condition. All the images you are about to see are straight out of camera JPEGs. I will show you the sample shots side by side labeled as A and B, then reveal which one is which and share my thoughts on them. Well, you probably guessed it. A was the Kodak CCD from the Olympus E-500 and B was the Canon G12. What do you think? You are probably noticed that the Olympus E-500 is sharper than the G12. That's mostly thanks to the Rikenon 50mm f2 lens, which is surprisingly sharp. This showed me that 8 megapixels can still deliver great results if you pair the camera with a decent lens. Keep in mind, my G12 might not be performing at its best since it has a fixed lens. If there is fungus or dust on it, cleaning it would be a hassle. Plus, the G12's lens isn't as sharp as the Rikenon 50mm f2. But sharpness wasn't the main thing I was looking at here. I was really focusing on the colors each camera produced. As you might notice, the Kodak CCD consistently produces richer colors. They are a bit more saturated and vibrant. I took this image in the late afternoon, just after it rained. You can see that the yellow and orange tones on the Olympus are a bit more pronounced. On the G12, there is a hint of magenta in the background, which makes the blue in the sky stand out more. The same goes for this other image. You can see how the late afternoon sun hits the leaves, and both the G12 and E500 handle it differently. The E500 gives off a warmer yellowish tone, while the G12 leans cooler with a bluish tone. At least from what I understand, in the world of white balance, there are two axes: color temperature and tint. If you are using Lightroom, you'll see two sliders, one for adjusting between blue and yellow, which is color temperature, and another for green and magenta, which is for the tint. To my eyes, the E500 auto white balance leans warmer toward yellow on the temperature scale and slightly toward green on the tint. Meanwhile, the G12 leans cooler towards blue and more magenta on the tint. One little trick I always use to judge tint is to look at the shot of a tree, focusing on the trunk. It works most of the time. In the shot, for example, taken in the late afternoon after it rained, you can see the magenta tone is pretty strong on the G12, especially on the trunk. But in another shot I took in the morning sun with the light hitting the trunk directly, the results are different. The E500 shows a warmer yellowish tone with just a touch of magenta, but not too much. If you look at this other image, you'll notice both cameras handle colors differently. The green leaves look a bit yellowish on the E500, whereas they appear more solid green on the G12. In terms of color accuracy to the actual scene, I'd say the G12 is more accurate, but personally, I find the E500 more aesthetically pleasing. Well, probably it's just me. The sky also shows this difference, with the G12 adding just a slight magenta cast. Another thing I've noticed is that in low light conditions, the Olympus E500 tends to produce warmer tones than the G12. Some people might prefer this because it looks more filmic, I guess. You get a touch of yellowing with the E500 compared to the cooler bluish tones on the G12. Just to confirm, both cameras were on auto white balance. What do you think? Of course, this experiment wasn't perfect, but I have to say I prefer the results from the Olympus E500. It also has the added bonus of interchangeable lenses, which is a big plus for me. Again, if there is an issue with the G12 lens, you are stuck with it. I'm definitely going to try another experiment to see if this Kodak made CCD really is magic, so keep an eye on this channel. Hope this was helpful. See you next time. Guys, keep snapping and keep your budget tight. Au revoir.